Hello and welcome everybody to today's very special training, which is how to trade commodity currencies with myself, Phil Carr, at the Gold and Silver Club. So during today's session, we will be covering the following. We'll go through live market analysis. We will provide you with a watch list of trading ideas. We'll go through a forecast of where we expect the price to head next for Australian dollar, US dollar, New Zealand dollar, US dollar, and also US dollar, Canadian dollar as well. We'll be answering questions, and of course, we will be providing live support. There is a questions function, so if you have any questions, guys, feel free to put those into the chat as we progress with today's analysis. So just before we get into it, let me introduce you to the Gold and Silver Club. The Gold and Silver Club is regarded as the go-to authority on commodities trading. As international respected experts, our analysis and our opinions on the metals, the energies, agriculture, and also the cryptocurrency markets are routinely sought by major financial television channels and publications, which include Bloomberg, Reuters, CNBC, the Financial Times, and of course, it's a pleasure to be here as well on binary.com. Our team of experts has trained and mentored thousands of traders from all over the world to invest in the financial markets with confidence using our exclusive strategies. So for further information on the Gold and Silver Club and our expertise, please do visit www.thegoldandsilverclub.com. And in fact, what I shall do there as well, for those of you who might need to pop off a little bit earlier on in the session, get this question a lot with respect to how you get access to our services at the Gold and Silver Club. Very simply, it's www.jointhegoldandsilverclub.com. But we'll come back to that a little bit later in the session. Okay, super. So with that, today we're going to be looking at the commodity currencies. We'll discuss with you the sort of inverse correlations that we look at. Being the Gold and Silver Club, of course, we trade gold, we trade silver, we trade oil, we trade the commodity currencies, we trade the cryptocurrencies. There are a lot of markets to take advantage of at the Gold and Silver Club. So with that, we'll start off here looking at the commodity currencies. And this is the name given to currencies of countries which depend heavily on the export of raw materials for income. So in the foreign exchange market, commodity currencies generally refer to the Australian dollar, the Canadian dollar, New Zealand dollar, Norwegian krone, South African rand, Brazilian real, and the Russian ruble. Canada produces a large quantity of commodities, including natural gas, timber, and especially oil, and this makes the Canadian economy very sensitive to commodity prices. So you'll tend to see a lot of the time the oil price will move in lockstep with the Canadian dollar, and we can trade that inversely via the US dollar, Canadian dollar. So oil, if crude oil is rallying and going up, you can sell short, for example, US dollar, Canadian dollar with the inverse correlation. Australia is one of the world's most natural resource-rich countries and has a large holding of gold, iron, coal, and aluminium. As a result, we often also see gold and Australian dollar, US dollar correlation, and also iron ore as well is a big factor in the price of Australian dollar, US dollar, but essentially you can take advantage of a lot of the correlation between gold and also the Australian dollar as well. And we'll have a look at that on the screens very shortly when we go over to the charts. We'll look at New Zealand dollar, US dollar, we'll look at gold, we'll look at oil, we'll look at the other currencies as well. So to break it down for you in terms of Australian dollar, US dollar, Australia accounts for a third of global iron ore and gold production. This means Australia's fiscal revenue is very sensitive to changes in metal prices, and based on intermarket relationships, the Australian dollar is tightly correlated to iron ore and gold prices. So when iron ore and gold prices go up, Australian dollar, US dollar tends to go up. When iron ore and gold prices go down, Australian dollar, US dollar tends to go down as well. So you've got this strong correlation between those markets, which you can certainly make a trade on via binary. Now, moving over to oil. So we've got US dollar, Canadian dollar, and Canada is the sixth largest oil producer in the world, about a quarter of whose exports is oil, and this makes Canada's economy very sensitive to oil prices. And we see this a lot in the chart, the fluctuations in the price of oil can be traded by US dollar, Canadian dollar. And in fact, sometimes if you have missed out a breakout opportunity on oil, often you've got enough time to actually sell short US dollar, Canadian dollar, or if you miss out on a sell short opportunity on oil, often you can take the inverse correlation and buy US dollar, Canadian dollar. So generally, although not always, but generally, we tend to see when oil prices go up, US dollar, Canadian dollar goes down, and when oil prices go down, US dollar, Canadian dollar goes up. So if you're trading US dollar, Canadian dollar, you definitely want to be looking at oil. It will help you a lot to get an edge with your trades. And also you want to monitor the US dollar as well. The US dollar, of course, being very important for a lot of the currencies and having heavy weighting. So we'll have a look at that shortly as well. Right, so before we get into it and before we move over to the charts, just to get an idea of overall sentiment today in the market, some of the top movers and some of the biggest movers to the upside and the downside. So the US dollar index has pulled back today. It's down 0.18% on the day. We've got some of the strongest movers today, New Zealand dollar, which has worked out really well actually for some of our correlation trades here today. On New Zealand dollar, US dollar, we've had a sell short on Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, and also Euro, New Zealand dollar, which has worked out quite well over the course of this week. And New Zealand dollar has popped to the upside again today, one of the biggest gainers with the FX markets. Australian dollar, US dollar also getting well supported today. We'll have a look at that because I do like that for the potential of more upside. I'll have a look at that shortly, up 0.45% on the day. Crude oil is up 0.22% today. Euro getting a bit of a bid here. Gold ever so slightly up, and also silver as well, and the pound a bit muted today. Canadian dollar a bit muted as well, and the Japanese yen, it's been up and down today, and we'll have a look at that shortly on the charts too. So one of the major news items that you want to just have on your radar at the moment is the FOMC statement. So there is an FOMC statement tomorrow, and there are 8 FOMC statements every single year. 4 of those have Janet Yellen delivering a press conference afterwards where she essentially addresses a Q&A, which can cause some big moves in the market. September, out of all the FOMC statements over the year, tends to be one of the biggest ones. So often you want to start preparing yourself for that. We'll go through a bit of prep for that today. Again, if you'd like to find out more, if you want to know our exact entry, exit, take profits, what we'll be doing on that, just make sure you go across to www.jointhegoldandsilverclub.com if you'd like to make an application to join us at the Gold and Silver Club as we trade the FOMC statement tomorrow. We'll be watching that very carefully. The Fed interest rate decision, they're not expected to change the interest rate tomorrow, but they are expected to announce moves to shrink its 4.5 trillion asset portfolio built up to spur economic growth in the wake of the financial crisis, and they're expected to reduce that, which could cause some big moves here for the US dollar and gold and silver and also other currencies as well. So that's a big one tomorrow. We've also got the API weekly crude oil stock that will affect later on today. Oil, so I'll be looking out for the impact that does have on oil. Crude oil inventories tomorrow as well will be important for oil. Last week we did see an oversupply in the market, but we saw one of the biggest drawdowns on gasoline inventories, which helped oil to get a bid last week. We've got existing home sales tomorrow, 3 o'clock London time, which will likely also cause some additional volatility, but all eyes really will be on the FOMC statement tomorrow. So if you've never traded that before, you've never seen how that impacts the markets, you'll be doing yourself proud if you watch that impact at 7 o'clock tomorrow. So initially, you'll see some big moves in the market at 7 o'clock normally. And then what I would anticipate is then afterwards at 7:30, you'll start to see more market volatility. And then after about an hour or so, once it gets to about 8:30 London time, the markets start to digest everything from the conference, from the Fed interest rate decision, and also any details just regarding the possible shrinking of their 4.5 trillion asset portfolio. And with that, that's when we can really start to see some big moves, which then follow through to Thursday, and then Friday as well. And you just want to get yourself on the right side of those big moves too. So we'll have a look at that shortly on the chart. So just running you through some of the top trades that we've had over the last week using our exclusive research-driven strategy. So we've caught this breakout with oil, which has been quite lucrative over the last couple of weeks. Particularly, we saw oil get a bid off the back of the hurricanes in the USA, Hurricane Harvey, of course, more specifically, and we saw nice breakout on that trade, a rally of 3%, which we caught for the price to be higher. And we also capitalized on a gold trade here for the price to be higher, entering at 1,325 US dollars per ounce. We saw gold break all the way up to 1,350 US dollars before more recently pulling back to around 1,310 today. So we capitalized on another breakout trade here on gold. So what we'll be looking at today is the higher or lower type of trade on binary.com. So essentially, if you select higher, you win the payout if the market exit price is strictly higher than the entry price. If you select lower, you win the payout if the market exit price is strictly lower than the entry price. So the way this works, it's all, I'm sure a lot of you know this, but if you haven't traded in this way before, it allows you to take a trade where you don't need a stop loss, you don't need to take profit in the market. All you really essentially need to get right is the direction, the time frame, and obviously you want to get your entry right as well. So for example, if you're looking for Australian dollar, US dollar to be higher, you would look at, for example, a trade for the price to be higher over 5 hours. You would set start time now. Payout can be as little or as, it can be from anywhere from a few pounds. You could be trading at £5 payout, £50, £500, £5,000 payout. Everything is transparent, so you know what your risk is up front. You've got the stake here, so you can see here, for example, gold for the duration of 5 hours for a 5,000 payout. The stake for the price to be higher is £2,843 and 26 pence. If I win the trade, I win I win £5,000 on the position. If I lose the trade, I lose my stake, which is £2,843 and 26 pence, and that's the same with lower as well. So again, for the price to be lower, payout of 5,000. The stake on the trade, £2,853, and if I win the trade, I would make 5,000, and if I lose the trade, I would lose the stake on the position. So it's all very clear and upfront. You can see what your net profit is, the percentage return with this way of trading. And what it allows you to do, it allows you to trade a lot of market volatility. So I would actually suggest an announcement like tomorrow, the FOMC statement, particularly I love gold for trading the FOMC, but also like US dollar, Japanese yen, which will tend to move inversely to gold. Australian dollar, US dollar can be a good mover as well. Once the momentum has really been set after the FOMC statement and after the press conference, usually we get good follow through, and I quite like binary a lot for those follow-through moves. So you don't need to have necessarily a stop loss or a take profit. You just take a momentum trade for the price to be higher or lower, depending on which way we have confirmation in the markets, and then look to take advantage of those momentum plays where you don't need to worry about your stop loss or take profit. You just need the price to close within your direction over the specified time frame. So we can have a look at that in more detail as we go over to the charts. So what I will do, I'll bring you over to my charts, and I would suggest again, guys, any questions, any comments, please do let me know in the chat. We'll go through some of the trading ideas that we've got at the moment as we continue and progress today through to tomorrow's FOMC statement. So very shortly, you should be able to see my charts. Let me just do that, and hopefully you won't lose sound either. So let me just make sure you can see my screen. Okay, so a quick check-in that you can all see my screen and you can still hear me okay as well. Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Reese. Okay, super. So I'll tell you what we'll do here, first of all, because it's worthwhile having a look at some of the crosses. We've had a sell short on Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar over the course of this week. So essentially, out of the two, New Zealand dollar has been stronger than Australian dollar over the last week or so. We saw the sell signal setting up last week. We entered into a sell short on this at 1.1035, and that's continued to break down quite nicely actually over the course of the last few days. It broke and closed below the 21-day moving average on Friday, and it's also overall the trend here is starting to change short term anyway, and you can just measure that by the fact that the New Zealand dollar, US dollar at the moment, if we have a look at that on the chart, which is ramping up right now, has had a stronger move than the Australian dollar, US dollar, although both are getting a bid today. New Zealand dollar, US dollar here has had the stronger of the two, and we've had that technical confirmation a bit earlier on in the week. So from a technical point of view, how would you trade that? Or just from an execution point of view, I would be looking just for the price to be lower of Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. Particularly, you can see inverse hammer on the daily chart at the moment. You've got essentially where the price came up today, managed to just about break above yesterday's high, then it's retraced. It looks quite bearish here into the close. It's finding support around the monthly pivot. I'm still looking at the potential for a bit more downside here, so for a momentum play for the price to be ever so slightly lower. Also, Euro New Zealand dollar has had a very similar price structure. So New Zealand dollar has been stronger than the Euro today, and as a result, Euro versus New Zealand dollar has worked quite well for our sell short here too, where we've seen the price structure roll over, and it came back for a retest, back of a bit of a goodbye kiss actually yesterday, back towards overhead resistance, back towards a 21-day moving average, and we can see here we've just come up, hit resistance, rolled over today. We've had a sell short on this where we've been in and out of this position, and it looks a little bit bearish here into the close as well, although I prefer the price structure and momentum of Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. Now, with respect to trade idea right now, the Australian dollar has continued to find support at the lower end of this underlying trend channel over the last week. I was encouraged overnight to see it get another bid around the 21-day moving average. So from a technical point of view, we've continued to see this market get well supported. The US dollar index today has pulled back a little bit further. Australian dollar, US dollar is holding key support at the moment. It's encouraging the bid that it's had today. I would suggest it might be in a position to pop over the course of tomorrow's FOMC statement if we were to see gold get a bid. So if gold can get well supported, if gold holds above 1300 and we see the US dollar index sell off tomorrow, that is where we could see the Australian dollar, US dollar pop higher. For me, it's not quite there yet. It's building up a bit of a base here right now. I would look at that if we can break above the weekly highs. So if we can break above, go over to a weekly chart, if we break above last week's highs here, this week, then I would look for the potential of a breakout with Australian dollar, US dollar, additional momentum to the upside. So I would definitely have that on your radar, essentially a break above 0.8031 or thereabouts. So I would be, or just above that actually, about 0.8040. And at that point, I would be looking for, as a trade idea, for a buy for the price to go higher. I would also keep an eye on New Zealand dollar, US dollar. So there's a lot of bears in this market. There's a lot of traders who are looking to short this, especially after the rejection candle formed yesterday into the close. But overall, it's been building up a good base. We haven't really seen a full-on breakdown of this market since it managed to close back above the 21-day moving average just last week. And it's continued to build a base. We're above several moving averages that we track. We're in the middle of the range. It's no longer oversold. It's not overbought either. And I would suggest the price structure today lends to a potential breakout higher here over the course of this week if we do see it get a bid tomorrow, and especially if gold can also get a breakout tomorrow as well. You've got a nice neckline here, although it's not quite ready yet, but we do have a nice neckline here on New Zealand dollar, US dollar. I would suggest have this on your radar, especially for binary, because you don't need to have a stop loss trading this way. You just want the price to close higher on this particular trade idea with momentum. If we get a break above the weekly highs here, you can see where we could take out a lot of resistance here on a break above about 0.734 or just above that, taking out the weekly highs. Then I could see the potential for a more significant breakout here on New Zealand dollar, US dollar, taking us back out to the next major overhead levels, monthly pivot at 0.742. So I would look for the potential of New Zealand dollar, US dollar to get a bid here. We've got a buy signal on this at the moment, although I'd like to see it break a little bit higher. And you can also, if you don't want to, or if you're not looking to expose yourself directly to New Zealand dollar, US dollar, you could look at the crosses like Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar sell, or Euro, New Zealand dollar for a sell, which looks quite good. And even actually pound New Zealand dollar, which I can bring out for you as well. So we can see, yeah, pound New Zealand dollar is starting to break down as well. So it's just whichever currency really is the weakest against New Zealand dollar. So if New Zealand dollar is getting a good bid at the moment, which one would be the weaker? And then that would just take you back to what we showed you at the start of the session, looking at which was the strongest currency today, which was the weakest, and then pairing them off against each other for a trade opportunity. Now, moving over to oil, it's worthwhile having a look at oil here because it gives us a bit of context in terms of US dollar, Canadian dollar. Oil right now, it's struggling a little bit to break out above overhead resistance here. So we did manage to revisit above 55 US dollars per barrel just last week. In fact, we've come up to about $55.71 per barrel. It's not been able to penetrate above that resistance. So it's not had enough behind it here to really break out above the highs yet. And in fact, it's starting to get a retest back towards the weekly lows here. Looks like it could be vulnerable potentially for a more corrective pullback if we were to see the weekly lows give way, or it might just get a bid at this level. If we look at US oil as well, it's also pulling back at the moment, failed breakout to the upside. It's overbought right now. We've got the API data coming out a little bit later on today, which will probably give us a little bit of a further clue with respect to direction here as we go into the close and as we go into tomorrow as well. So that's oil at the moment. And then we can have a look here at US dollar Canadian dollar, and US dollar Canadian dollar did get a breakout to the upside. So off the back of oil weakness yesterday, we saw US dollar CAD breakout yesterday. It still looks a bit vulnerable to me, although it's in the middle of the range. So it's short term. It's got into an overbought condition from several of the indicators that we track, but at the same time, it has generated a short-term buy signal. So for me, I'm waiting to see whether US dollar Canadian dollar will break back below here, the 122 handle, in which case I would look to short it again. So selling into strength here, taking advantage of the potential for a rollover. It could just be a bear flag formation where it's had a recent breakout, but it's not going to get any higher, and then we just see a breakdown, a continuation pattern. But that would probably also need to see oil get another bid and break out to the upside. Otherwise, US dollar Canadian dollar could actually break out and go higher and revisit the upper end of the trend channel. So for me, it's a waiting game at the moment on US dollar CAD. So I'm just waiting on that market, and possibly we'll get a resolution on that tomorrow on the FOMC statement. If we move it over to gold, gold right now is hovering around 1,310 US dollars per ounce, and it is at a major level here. You can see my trend channels on the chart, hopefully, and we've resolved this overbought condition, but at the same time, technically, it's actually a short-term sell. On higher time frames, so on the weekly, on the monthly, it's a buy, but on lower time frames, the 4 hour, the daily, it's a sell around these levels. And I would suggest we're going to be in for a make or break move on gold tomorrow based on the FOMC statement, because we're likely to get some sort of a shakeout if we were to see a US dollar surge off the back of that. And if we saw hawkish comments from the Fed tomorrow, we would likely see the gold market weaken. We could see a break below 1,300. We may retest 1,280 if we were to see essentially a hawkish FOMC statement and also press conference afterwards. If the Fed don't do too much, if they don't really change from what they've suggested in the past, because everybody is expecting them to announce moves to shrink their 4.5 trillion asset portfolio, which to a certain degree has been priced in. But if they don't change anything major with reference to their statement, we might see the US dollar just continue to sell off, and then gold get a bid. And actually gold around 1310 here has got nice potential upside for a breakout up to 1330, and beyond that 1350, and it could also set up for a good buying opportunity, positioning a stop loss. Well, you don't need a stop loss on actually binary, it's just a momentum trade, and you can look for the price to potentially close higher over smaller time frames like 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or by the close of the day, if we were to see the US dollar sell off and a fairly dovish FOMC statement tomorrow with nothing much changing from what they've suggested in the past. Gold could then get a bid. So whilst it's above 1,300, it's still remaining supported. It's literally sitting right on the edge currently of this channel. Now, it's not unusual as well to see actually gold start to move pre-FOMC statement. And if it does start to break down ahead of that statement tomorrow, it will be interesting to see at what price it starts to get some support, because right now, hopefully you can see that 1310 is just about providing support. You actually got an inside candle on the daily chart. There's pressure building where either direction on a break, we could get some good momentum here, which again makes it pretty good for a binary trade, just not needing to have a big stop loss on the buy side or the sell side. So I would definitely have gold on your radar here. And again, if you'd like to find out more, and with respect to our trade ideas tomorrow, real-time trade alerts on the Gold and Silver Club, go over to www.jointhegoldandsilverclub.com, make an application, and we'll get in touch with you ASAP. So with that, we'll just move over also to some of the other crosses, which I would just bear in mind right now. US dollar Japanese yen has been ebbing and flowing today. Now it's back around the 1160 zone at the moment, the 111.60 level right now, but it is short-term overbought. You can see right now where gold hasn't really had too much movement. We're also creating a doji on US dollar Japanese yen, so it's also having a bit of a pause here, probably waiting on direction as well from the FOMC statement, although short-term it is getting into an overhead level of resistance. It is overbought short-term here, but we will be waiting for tomorrow's FOMC statement now for the next big move on this market. But I would also have that on your radar. I've had a few questions with respect to the other currencies as well. What we can do is just have a quick scan through, and I'll give you just some of the trade ideas that we're looking at right now. So Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, that looks ready to crack soon. So monthly pivot to crack lower. Trade idea would be for the price to go lower on this market. So I'm looking at weakness in Australian dollar, US dollar, Euro, New Zealand dollar. Whilst the New Zealand dollar is getting a bid, I'm looking at further weakness in this market as well. US dollar, Canadian dollar, I'm neutral at the moment because it is within an overall downward trend, so I'm more interested to sell it, but at the same time, a short-term buy signal has been generated. New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar broke out this week. I do like this market actually for more upside, although again, from a binary perspective, this is ideal because you don't need a big stop loss on it. So depending on the trading platform that you're using, binary would be good for a momentum trade for the price to be higher. I like that for more upside. I like Australian dollar, US dollar for more upside here as well. It's still got a bit more work to do. Ideally, if it can break above last week's highs, then that's where it should really start to build up momentum to the upside. Oil right now is pulling back to support, waiting for the API data to come out later today. Gold at the moment, vulnerable to move back towards 1300. If we see this trend channel break, it might well break overnight, but it might also get a bid and retest 1,300 and approximately $20 US per ounce here. It's really tight moves today on gold, so waiting for the FOMC statement as well. UK oil, same situation as US oil, waiting for API data to come out. New Zealand dollar, I like this market for more upside, especially if it breaks above the weekly highs here. We've also had a generated buy signal. We're trading that via sell short on some of the crosses. US dollar, Japanese yen, muted at the moment. So overall, liked it for a sell short earlier on today. It's a bit muted right now. We'll wait. Looking at some of the other crosses as well. Pound Japanese yen has produced a tweezer setup, so 2 rejection candles on the daily chart. Does look vulnerable to a potential pullback, although within a very strong short-term upward trend. So we'll be in and out of that quickly if I was to short it. Canadian dollar, Japanese yen, continuation pattern to the upside. New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen, I mean, no surprises there. With the strength in New Zealand dollar, this market is also getting quite a significant bid right now off the back of strength with the New Zealand dollar. Australian dollar, Japanese yen, actually that might be worth having on your radar as well. We're almost at the brink of breaking above the 2017 highs here. You can see this really nice V-shaped reversal pattern, basing formation. So have that on your radar actually as well. Australian dollar, Japanese yen, Euro, US dollar is not really doing too much at the moment, quite muted. Pound, US dollar, similar, although it's rejection candle, but against the momentum which is up right now. And some of the other markets, let's see if we've got anything else which is worthwhile having a look at. Yeah, Australian dollar, Canadian dollar actually got a spike higher today. So yeah, that might generate a buy signal actually if we were to break above the 21-day moving average. That's worth having on the radar. And pound New Zealand dollar actually started to pull back here as well, starting to break through. So short-term momentum trade might be good here as well, with the fact that New Zealand dollar, US dollar is very strong at the moment. So any inverse correlations you can look at are likely to be reasonable in terms of momentum at the moment. Okay, fantastic. So I hope that gives you an idea just with respect to our trade ideas. As I mentioned earlier, guys, so again, if you want to get access to the Gold and Silver Club, let me put that link in the chat for you, www.jointhegoldensilverclub.com. So if you'd like to get access to our daily live trade ideas or analysis shared with you, ready to implement for instant results, that is the link, guys, to go to. Who's it for? Well, whether you're a new trader or even if you're an experienced trader, but you're looking to really take your trading to that next level, okay? The private members live trading room would then definitely be for you. As a member, you get access to our private members academy. So you can get access to this via your laptop, via your mobile phone. You can get access to this via your desktop computer. So you will be essentially logged into the Gold and Silver Club membership site with all of our trades, all of our analysis, all of our research, and you also get all the email alerts, notifications, access to our live trading rooms as well. So the live trading room webinars, you can watch the Gold and Silver Club expert traders analyze the markets right in front of you, going through solid trade setups, as well as walking you through every live trade setup step by step, ready to implement. We provide you with our exact entry and exit levels, so buy and sell trade alerts, and those provide you advance notice to make sure you get plenty of time on each trade at the best price. And you get access to all of our research and market insights. So you get access to our proprietary trading research to help you make smarter, well-informed trading decisions. Our insights and analysis are there really to make sure you're well-equipped with the most accurate technical and fundamental information you need to identify market trends early, predict future price movements, and act on trading decisions with confidence. So again, all of that is accessible via the private members live trading room. So you get access to our live trading rooms during the week, live trade ideas daily shared with you, real-time alerts via email and SMS. You don't miss out on trade opportunities. You get an alert every time there's a new trade. Exact details of where we enter, exit on every trade, access to our private members live trading room, ongoing support and mentoring to help you achieve long-term success, and exclusive access to our proprietary trading research to give you the ultimate edge in the market, so you get access to all of our research reports too. And again, guys, very simply, all you need to do is go to www.jointhegoldensilverclub.com, complete the application form, and we will get in touch with you ASAP. Okay, fantastic. Great stuff. Thank you, Ognian. Fantastic. Thanks very much. Good. So with that, guys, I wish you all good luck with tomorrow's FOMC statement. Of course, do get in touch if you'd like to find out more and join us trading that at the Gold and Silver Club. And yeah, I wish you all a profitable day. All the best. We'll speak to you real soon. Have a fantastic day. Okay, great stuff, guys. Take care. Speak soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.